timeline is the fourth dimension.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of the problem with looking at stationary facts like that are on those shows is that they're not on a timeline. They're just facts on the board. Boom. Okay. And yes or no, right?
Well, some of them are time related. I mean,
but they're not. What you do not see in there is the fourth dimension of them going out over a period of time, because it's simply a yes or no answer, or the correct answer, or the wrong answer. You know, there's no kind of and culture runs out on that fourth dimension, and that's what we don't look at. We don't understand that. People are extremely frustrated now, for instance, with government, and why? But why? Because it's not doing, it's dysfunctional, et cetera, et cetera. But why? It's evolving. It's like the culture itself is in puberty, and it's getting older. Pretty soon we're going to be an adult, full-blown adolescence, and then eventually be an adult, and then eventually we'll be older, and then eventually we'll die. That's the nature of cultures. That's the nature of civilizations. All of them have gone through that process, right? Mm-hmm. So why should we be thinking? Why should we feel that the current political situation in this country is so desperately bad? It's not. It's just like a prepubescent teenager that's confused. We're a confused country, and simply because we're evolving in that direction, and it's heading in that direction. And what we're trying to do is to hold on to the Dwight Eisenhower days when the president had respect. Who respects the president now? You think Obama commands respect? You think you look at Mitt Romney, I guess he's the last guy standing with the Republicans here. Everybody else is self-destructing there. You think Mitt Romney, the Republicans don't even like him. You know, and Obama's running on what has he done? He can't run on health care because it was a flop. He can't run on the bailouts because they, by and large, were flop too. What is he running? He's got nothing to run on. Most of his
he killed Osama bin Laden.
Well, that was that was to be expected. I mean, that was okay. That was part of the job duty description, you know. Yeah. So what, you're going to vote for him because he killed bin Laden? And and so people are upset with him. They're upset with the Republican Party. And well, why? And the way I see it is that if you look at it on the timeline, it's a natural progression. And the fact is America going down, I don't know, not necessarily compared to what? I mean, if you compare it to the rest of the world, it's still probably the highest standard of living in many respects. I mean, sure, the Swiss do, or the Dutch do, but or the Danish do, but what? How many people are in Switzerland? 15 million or something. There's 300 and something million here in the U.S. Compare it with it's a huge country. So to me, because you don't look at that, then the other problem is you can't see those institutions such as the government, education, religion, corporate structures evolving. I mean, I think the corporate thing is maybe going the fastest, because if you look at what used to be the pride, made in America was the pride. Walmart's not made in America.
It still is. People prefer things that are...
Yeah, but Walmart is basically Chinese. Walmart has, they've got the things they order directly from the factory in China.
But not only that, Macy's and Sears and...
Steve Jobs. How can you say Apple's an American company? They use cheap Chinese labor to make the phones, and the computers. I mean, there's nothing prideful to be about from Apple. I mean, Apple may design it, but they don't make it. It's made elsewhere. So, if Greece defaults and Europe crashes and it brings down a chunk of Wall Street and the dollar, whatever in America, and in China, and we sort of have this domino effect. I don't know that it's necessarily just Greece. I mean, it's because the U.S. is on the edge, and most of Europe is on the edge except for maybe Germany. Italy's in the tank, and they can't save Italy because there's not enough money. Can't even save Greece because Greece can't even agree to it. So what you're looking at now, particularly after as you saw California, what happened in California in the last 2 or 3 years is now in Texas. It's now in Houston, or it's beginning to be there. I wouldn't say that, and it may not be quite as bad, certainly in small town Virginia and North Carolina and Alabama and Oklahoma and Kansas, it's full blown. I mean, you know, when they say the guy, I was in McDonald's today listening to the guy on the TV. He said, "We're not in a recession." I go, "Well, you got to be kidding! You know, who are you talking to?"
Yeah.
Google's not. Yeah, if you work for Google, you're not. But if you have a small business and or a retail store, you're certainly not thinking that.
Well, see, the boss will keep telling or try to tell everybody what they know isn't true, just because that's their job. You know.
I mean, Google made $37 billion profit in 3 months. So, what does that do to the overall picture? I mean, that props up a lot of the economy, I would think. Makes up for GM or whatever. Or we're selling a few more cars. The other thing I love is the idea of conventional wisdom. Because everybody tries to predict, for instance, where the market's going, and the market will go up. They'll predict, the market's going up today, and it didn't. It went down. Well, conventional wisdom said it would go up, but what happened is we didn't account for this and that. And what you're beginning to see then, what does that say? What's the inference there? That the conventional wisdom's not working anymore. In other words, what's going on is the changes are fundamental.
Well, I don't think there ever was a real conventional wisdom.
You cannot rely on the... well, I think at some point, for instance, my sense of what was in the 50s in the 60s was that there was a certain stability in the country and a certain respect for the country, and it wasn't like you would look at Dwight Eisenhower and be disrespectful. I mean, you wouldn't laugh at Dwight Eisenhower and make fun of him. Mm-hmm. It was a respect. Now, I mean, my gosh, now you're going, my God, you got to give me a break. Obama calls it the ordinary people. I mean, what are you talking about? That's American citizens. He's calling them ordinary people. Well, the ordinary people, as opposed to what? The elite. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how he's setting it off. I mean, that's disrespectful to call your people that you're supposedly representing the ordinary people. I don't know. It seems that way to me, but we shouldn't be surprised to see that the pace of change may even accelerate. And the changes that we're seeing, for instance, in the economy, all the efforts, the bailouts and all that, it's definitely not going to change the direction. It's going to go where it's going to go, regardless of what's done, regardless of what Obama says, and regardless of what Sarkozy says or Merkel or whoever. It's going to go in that direction, and it's going to find its place. And the explanation for it is that it's evolving, and it's not going to go back to the way it was. And so, as an individual, what you have to do is figure, okay, where's my place in this? If in the last 5 years you went out and borrowed heavily, bought a bunch of big houses and borrowed heavily for your business, then you're in trouble. You're sunk. Like a lot of people in California were. They could not believe that it was going to change. And so they leveraged themselves up to yin yang.